Hello everyone, welcome to this session of political science class with me for class 11. In this session, again a continuation from your previous unit that we have been discussing, that is on your unit 4 or chapter 4, that is liberty. Okay, in this session we will discuss the remaining topic. Now, in the last session we have discussed about the different kinds of liberty, right? There are four, that is your civil liberty, political liberty, economic liberty, racial and national liberty. We have discussed these four broad categories. Now here in this session we will discuss the safeguards to liberty. How can we safeguard these four categories? Okay. Now the first one is a democratic form of government. Now in a military or in an authoritarian form of government, your right to speech, okay, the freedom to speech or right to criticize the government, it is absent because such a government is being ruled by a command, right? A command or a coercion, that is force, because in a dictatorial form of government it is a rule by one. So it is the command of that person how the country governs, that is by the use of force. But in a democratic form of government, it gives the freedom to the people, that is you have this four different kinds of freedom. You have under these, in a democratic form of government, your right to vote, okay, your right to vote, to participate in the elections, to criticize the government, right, and to raise voice against the laws that is not in tune with the state. It is the most important under your democratic form of government. So we can say that in democratic form of government is the government which safeguards liberty, because in a dictatorial or in a military form of government, this is not there, okay? Your freedom to protect the liberty is absent. Now, point number 2, we have safeguards afforded by a written constitution. The rights, the freedom that we were discussing, it is all under the constitution. Now most of the constitution, for example the Indian constitution as well as the American constitution, they provided ways and means to give freedom. Yeah, they have written down in the constitution what types of freedom of rights that can be or that is to be given to the citizens. Now the countries, they also provide ways and means, okay, to ensure or to enforce it. For example, the fundamental rights in the Indian constitution, it does not only lays down, yeah, the 6 broad categories of your fundamental right, but it also provide ways and means to enforce them, to protect them. That is in your under Article 32, that is your constitutional remedies, where you have 5 different kinds of rights to protect your fundamental right. Now, when you are having a court case, okay, when you are challenging the court case, so in order to defend your rights which has been violated, what will be your most precious right when you are doing a court case? The most precious right will be Article 14, yeah, right to equality before law. Now next will be right to life and personal liberty that we have just discussed under your civil liberty, yeah, and the last one, right against exploitation. So these are the 3 rights which will be the most precious right when you are doing or when you are facing a court case to defend or to fight for your violation of your fundamental right. Now this is there only in a constitution, okay, written constitution. Now point number 3, we have decentralization of power. When I say decentralization is power, it means something to do with the divisions of power, okay. The divisions of power in a democratic government will be divisions of power between the 3 organs of government. When I say 3 organs of government, it is referring to legislature, executive and the judiciary, okay. Now these divisions of power, it is also known as the separation of power. Now when it comes to decentralization of power, it not only talks about the 3 organs, okay, it also talks about the divisions of power between the center and state. Yeah, that's the reason why elections is being contested in the state level also, right? Now in India, again, it has been again decentralized from the state to the local self government. Now, India, we have three, from center to state, and from state, we have again local self-government. So we have enormous divisions of power, especially in India. Now, decentralization of power, it is needed because if there is concentration of power in one hands, it will be the greatest danger for liberty, okay, that is your freedom. That's the reason why we need a decentralization of power, so that there is a smooth functioning of the government. Now, the three organs of the government, that is the legislature, executive, and the judiciary, they should also work according to the power that has been given to them, okay. They should, or they could not override the power that is given to them. They could not interfere in the judicial affairs. For example, the executive, they cannot interfere in the judicial affairs that is been carried out by the Supreme Court or the High Court. There is a sole divisions of power, and they have to work in their respective jurisdiction of their power that has been given by the Constitution. Now, point number 4 is talking about rule of law and impartial judiciary. Now, when it talks about rule of law, it means that the state has to run or has to govern according to the law that is being given by, or that is being given under the Constitution. Okay, no one is above law. Whether you are rich or poor, whether you are in the helm of the power, okay, or where, if you are not in the functioning of the government also, everyone is equal before law. Now, when it comes to impartial judiciary means that the judgment, okay, the validity that has been given, the verdict that has been given by the Supreme Court or the High Court, it should be impartial, it should be independent also. Okay. Now, when it comes to any court case, it is said that the court case, it should be, the procedures need to be speedy, as well as it should be inexpensive, so that the masses of the population, they can approach the court to fight for their justice, okay, or to fight for their liberty. Now, this rule of law and impartial judiciary, this is absent in a dictatorial or in a military form of government, because in that type of government, it is only one rule, yeah, it is the rule of the dictator that he or she will decide, okay. They do not have this role, that is the judiciary or the rule of law, it is absent. Now, point number 5, we have autonomy of groups and associations. Now, autonomy of groups and association, it is referring to the various organization or groups that is in existence, that is working for the benefit of the education. Yeah, we have trade also, business associations also, we have religious associations also. Now, what is the need of these associations? These associations, okay, they manage or they play the role as a link between the people and the government, so that the policies that the government is making, it is in the interest of the masses or the people, okay. Now, that's the reason why this autonomy of groups and association, it is important, because they carry out the voices of the masses and they present it to the legislature or to the government and make laws that is in tune with the demands of the people. Now, point number 6, we have role of opposition. Now, role of opposition, it is very important in a democratic setup, because it is the opposition which makes the legislature or the ruling party to be active, okay, or to be more present in the function of the government. It makes them to stand in their toes, okay. Now, in other words, people also say that the opposition, they play the role of a watchdog in this assemblies, okay, in the state assemblies also, or in the even in the central legislature, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Now, it is the opposition, okay, it is the opposition who raises the voice against the laws that is being made by the ruling party. Now, the people cannot directly go and talk to the legislatures, yeah. It is through the people, okay, who will approach the legislature, that is the people that the masses has voted for them, for him or her, right? And it will be that legislature who is in the opposition, they will raise questions against the ruling party. That's the reason why the role of opposition, it is very important, especially in a democratic setup. Now, it is also the opposition and the political parties which act as a link between the people and the government. That is another important point under the role of opposition. Now, the last point we have enlightened public opinion. Now, when you say enlightened public opinion, something to do with your freedom of speech, yeah, freedom to criticize the government. So there are various agencies, okay, even here. There are various agencies, organizations. For example, we have worker association, we have trade unions, we have business associations, students organizations. Yeah. Now these organizations or these associations, they play a very important role, and they provide a link between the state and the government. Now, apart from this, the presence of the organizations and association, here internet. Okay, the presence of internet, it has revolutionized public opinion to a very great extent. Now, people from different countries, now they can raise their voice against a country's policies or a country's laws, even if that person is not from that country. Now, that's the reason why internet, it has a great impact, as well as it has revolutionized a whole lot of public opinion all around the world. Now, it is also said that the people, okay, the people, it is their role or their responsibility to protect the basic principles of liberty. Now, what are the basic principles of liberty? It will be of justice, yeah, we have justice, we have equality, we have liberty, and the freedom of the individual. So these are the basic tenets which needs to be protected and safeguarded by the people. Now, it is also said that eternal vigilance, yeah, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. That is written in block letter in your capital, in your textbook. Now, this is a very important phrase, okay, that is the eternal vigilance is the price of liberty, that has to be mentioned under this point. All right, so these are the 7 points in which your liberty can be safeguarded. That is having a democratic form of government, a written constitution, decentralization of power, the rule of law. That means the state has to rule according to the laws that has been given or that has been laid down by the constitution. We have the role of the groups and association, the role of opposition, and the last point is the enlightened public opinion, where internet has revolutionized the public opinion of the masses to a very great extent. So these are the 7 points in which it will safeguard your liberty. Okay, the last topic in this session is this limitations of individual liberty. Okay, limitations. Especially in your individual. In the individual arena. Okay, now this is your last topic. Now, who will provide or who will limit your individual's liberty? It is the state, yeah? How will the state limit your individual liberty? Through laws. Now, the state, the anarchists, okay? The anarchists are those who do not favor the state, okay? They say that the state is an instrument of coercion. Now, coercion is force, okay? That's the reason why the anarchists, they want to abolish the state, because the role of the state is that they rule or they control the people through the use of force. So that is their view of the anarchists. Now, the another one is the individualist. Now, the individualists are those who are self-reliant, okay, and independent. Now, for them, they say that the state is necessary evil. Why necessary evil? Is because the state is necessary to maintain law and order, yeah, and evil because it places restrictions on the liberty of the people. That's the reason why the individualists, they say that state is necessary evil. Now, why do we need a constraint? Why do we need limitations? Okay, that's the first question. And the second will be, how do laws promote freedom? We have two. Now, liberty, total freedom, it is not possible. Okay, we need some restraints. If there is absence of restraints, that means liberty is not there. Okay, we need some restraints in liberty. Now, for instance, we can say that we have the liberty, or we have the freedom of thought and expression. Okay, now we also have the freedom to express in the running of the government. Now here, limitations can be placed if the masses, they overthrow the government through the use of force. No doubt we have the right to criticize the government. Yeah, we have the right to criticize the government, especially when the policies is not in favor with the people. But we also do not have the right to overthrow the lawfully established government by the use of force. So here we have a limitation. The other one, okay, state, on the other hand, the state, it promotes or it protects your freedom. That is, will be through education. We have laws that protects education, that is free and compulsory education, that has been given down by the constitution, at least up to the primary stage of education. Yeah. Now we also have these laws to protect life as well as property. Now if anyone threatens the life, okay, that person will be arrested and it will be dealt under the criminal law. So we have two types of law. We have the civil law and the criminal law. Now that's the two examples, that is education and protection of life, where laws protects your freedom. So we need some restrictions, or we can say that there are laws which promotes freedom. Not every laws, okay, it restricts your freedom. Some laws, it protects your freedom. For example, another example the text has given is the Factory Act, ACT. Okay, through the Factory Act, it has bring up changes. That is, they provided a working hour, a fixed working hour that the factory owners have to follow, so that the workers have, because the workers have the right to rest and leisures. Okay, now the factory owners, okay, they also have to follow the minimum wages, that is equal pay for equal work of what the individuals are doing. Now, what are the sources of limitation? How will we put a limitation to this freedom? We have two. Okay, we have legal restraints as well as social restraints. Now, legal restraints, it is something to do with laws. Okay, how will we this limit, or how will we restrain this? Now, in your text, it is given Land Act in South Africa. Now, Land Act in South Africa, it has, through this act, it has safeguarded, okay, it has reserved nearly 80% of land for the whites. Okay, now this has created a gap between the whites and the black, that is racial discrimination. Now, the other one would be the Group Act. Now, through the Group Act, it has provided, or it has made a separate living areas for the white, the black and the mixed racial. Now, these two acts, okay, it has been abolished by the South African government in 1991. Now, there is normalcy in South Africa. Now, laws, okay, every laws. Now, when it comes to the social constraint, we have issues like caste restrictions, inequality with genders, yeah, male and female. Now, we also have the PODA system. So, these are some of the social restraint that is still in existence, especially in India. Now, a recent survey has carried out in India where it tells that 565 villages, okay, 565 villages in 11 districts. The survey was conducted in 11 districts and it has covered around 565 villages. It has been found that 38% the government sectors, okay, they say that there is a separate place for the Dalits, especially the children's, when it comes to this eating, okay. When it comes to eating, they make a special or made a separate reservation for the Dalits. So we find that even though India has abolished untouchability, we still see the presence of this, okay, this social discrimination. Now, to remove this, okay, what will we do? We need education, okay, we need education to change the concept or to change the mindset, especially in the innermost or in the innermost societal level, that is to do with the issues of the Dalits. Now, these are the two sources of limitations, okay, legal, that is something to do with law, and social constraint, that is something to do with the societal norms, that is against the Buddha system or the Dalit issues that your text has mentioned. So these are the two sources of limitation apart from the individual restraint. So with this, we'll end this topic, okay. So in this topic, that is your liberty, we have discussed the meaning, we have discussed the two concepts of liberty, that is the positive concept of liberty and the negative concept of liberty. We have discussed the different kinds of liberty and how will we safeguard this liberty, and the last, that is a limitation to individual liberty. So with this, we'll end this unit as well as this session.